Yeah, welcome back to another episode of the Format Podcast. Thanks for joining me today. Got a pretty interesting show for you today. Going to talk about Micah Parsons, but more importantly than that, the Dallas Cowboys and their vice grip on the media and how we consume information about football. But before we get to that, you know what time it is. If you're here on YouTube and you haven't already, please go ahead, click that subscribe, that like, and that notification bell so you can be notified whenever new content drops on the channel. If you want the audio only version of the podcast, please open up your audio podcast platform, hit the search bar, type in the Format Podcast, and we should come right up. If you enjoy the content, give us that 5-star review and leave us a comment. It helps a lot and lets me know what you're thinking. Definitely try to do my best to respond to all the comments I get, but it helps us rise in the algorithm. And you know what happens when we rise in the algorithm? It helps us find more sports fans, helps more sports fans find us. Now let's get right to it. So sports is an interesting thing, right? And I guess kind of like a lot of other things, brand can really affect the message and affect how things get perceived. And why am I bringing this up? The Dallas Cowboys, right? Arguably the biggest sporting brand on earth. It's been in some cases recognized as the most recognizable athletic logo, or not athletic logo, that would probably be Nike, but the most recognizable team logo. I guess it's the Cowboys, the Yankees, and maybe Manchester United from the English Premier League. But the Cowboys are the most valuable, according to Forbes, sports franchise in the world at just about $10 billion. Crazy, right? I think Jerry Jones bought the franchise for $150 million about 30 years ago, and now it's worth $10 billion. Incredible profit margin there. Anyway, so this is interesting, right? The Cowboys can really change how we look at things. For instance, I talked about this a while back, maybe a few weeks back. Dak Prescott, Kirk Cousins are pretty much the same quarterback, right? But Kirk Cousins, he does not get seen in the same light, nor does he get the same passes that Dak Prescott gets. Why? Because Dak Prescott has the star on his helmet. He plays for the Cowboys. And this is kind of along the same veins, right? So obviously week 4 just ended in the NFL. So we're just about a quarter of the way through this NFL season. And of course, if you're a football fan, you're loving it. And this is something that's interesting to me. And I've been kind of noticing it the last 2 years, but it's really, really ramped up now. And that is Micah Parsons. And Micah Parsons, one of the best young defensive players in the league, one of the best linebackers, one of the best pass rushers, just an incredible, incredible player. No doubt about it. However, this is where I get frustrated because some people say that he could possibly become the greatest defensive player ever. They say he could be the greatest pass rusher since Lawrence Taylor. They say that he could be the next Lawrence Taylor. And I'm like, where is this stuff coming from? It's not even definitive that he's the best pass rusher or the best defensive player in the current league. Furthermore, comparing him to an all-time great like Lawrence Taylor, who again, many consider to be the best defensive player of all time. I think there's argument for that. Who might be the best defensive player of all time? Could be Reggie White, could be Deion Sanders, could be Bruce Smith, could be my guy, Ray Lewis. Now, Ray Lewis doesn't have the gaudy sack numbers, of course, because of the way he played, but being just a tackling machine, interception guy, turnovers, fumble recoveries, all that stuff. But anyway, most people wouldn't put Ray Lewis up there. I'll admit I probably got some bias there being a Ravens fan. But regardless, people talk about Micah Parsons as if he is the next great thing. And maybe he is the next great thing. But here's where I got to push back, okay? Yes, Micah Parsons is great. However, like I said before, it's not even definitive that he's the top pass rusher in today's game. For instance, you have Nick Bosa, who is an absolute animal. He only has 1 sack so far this season, right? But let's look at the past 2 years, right? Micah Parsons is in his 3rd season, so we'll start 2 years ago, which would be his rookie year. So comparatively, in Micah Parsons' rookie year, 2021, Nick Bosa, 15 and a half sacks, 21 tackles for loss. Absolutely insane. Following season, led the league, 18 and a half sacks, another 19 tackles for loss. Absolutely insane. And Nick Bosa, coincidentally, just inked a deal to become the highest paid defensive player of all time. Very worth it, rightly so. Okay, Nick Bosa is an absolute monster as an edge rusher coming off the end. Now, This is what I think is interesting. Matter of fact, I'll get back to that in a second. Another elite edge rusher in today's game, Myles Garrett, complete and total monster. Okay, this guy, and again, we'll start in that 2021 season because that was uh, 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 that was Micah Parsons' rookie year. Okay, so 2021, how many sacks does Myles Garrett have? 16 sacks, 17 tackles for loss. The following season, 2022, another 16 sacks, 18 tackles for loss. Again, absolute monster. 32 sacks in that 2-year time frame. He's already got 5.5 sacks this season. Myles Garrett, complete and total beast. Now, here's the thing, right? When you're on a defensive line, it's a lot easier to block you because the offense knows where you're going to be. The opposing coaches know where you're going to be. You don't have as many places to move around. With Micah Parsons, him being a linebacker, you can put him at rush end. You can move him all around in the defensive backfield, not in the backfield like cornerbacks and safeties, but in that middle range where the linebackers are. You can move him around and have him blitz from all over the place. You can have him fake like he's dropping into coverage and still attack. So the point is, it's a lot easier to hide those guys, giving them more opportunities to surprise the quarterback and rush the passer there. Now, TJ Watt, Steelers linebacker. So again, we'll go back to 2021. In 2021, TJ Watt, 22.5 sacks, led the league. Absolutely insane. Now, 2022, which was last season, he had injuries. He only played 10 games. He had 5.5 sacks. TJ Watt already has 6 sacks in his first 4 games this year. But the point I'm trying to make is TJ Watt, another absolutely elite pass rusher. He's been in the league 2017, 6 years now. This is his 7th season, and he is already the all-time sack leader in Pittsburgh Steelers history. Now, if you know anything about the Steelers, that is one of the absolutely elite of the elite defensive franchises of all time. Guys like Mean Joe Green, etc. So to say that TJ Watt's already the all-time leading sack artist in that franchise's history, that says something. Now, back to Micah Parsons. In his 2 years in the league, and I'm not trying to say he's some slouch, right? 2021 is a rookie, 13 sacks. Last year, 13.5 sacks. This year, 4 sacks already. So he's on pace to do it very well. But if you're looking at the biggest counting stat of a pass rusher, which is sacks, he's among the best in the league, but he's not a league leader. So we're talking about comparing him to Lawrence Taylor. I really don't understand that. And here's the other thing to me that made Lawrence Taylor so incredible. Lawrence Taylor played from 1981 to 1993. What was that? 13 years in the NFL. If you were around to watch NFL football back then, and I've talked about this before, the running game was the biggest part back then. Other than maybe Dan Marino, Dan Fouts, and a couple other guys, you did not see quarterbacks slinging the ball all over the place. They weren't on a regular basis getting 30 to 40 dropbacks per game like quarterbacks are today. So with that said, your Nick Bosa's, your Myles Garrett's, your Micah Parsons, your TJ Watts, these guys are getting so much more opportunities to attack the quarterback. So you look at a guy like, again, Lawrence Taylor, who had a 6-season stretch from 1984 to 1989, where he averaged 14.6 sacks and racked up 87.5 sacks total. That is absolutely absurd, especially with the fact that guys were just not throwing the ball as much back then. So that means he was making the most of his opportunities. And again, this is a guy that he's arguably the greatest game wrecker that the sport has ever known. And offensive coordinators had complete and total nightmares because you never knew when he was coming, and you had a completely game plan around this guy. Now, not saying you don't have to do that with Nick Bosa, TJ Watt, Micah Parsons, Myles Garrett today. But my point is, Micah Parsons is not Lawrence Taylor. He's not going to be Lawrence Taylor. Yes, he's great for his era, but you can't say you're Lawrence Taylor if you're not even the definitive best pass rusher today. Now, you have a lot of things going for you. Like I mentioned, you're not a defensive lineman, so you can line up all over the place and you can attack the quarterback from everywhere. You also are playing in an era where quarterbacks are, averaging 30 plus passing attempts per game. So you have many more opportunities to get after the quarterback in pass rush situations. I just don't understand it. Actually, I do understand it. The fact is this: Micah Parsons has a star on the side of his helmet. And that changes everything about the way you're perceived. That changes everything about the way the media views you and the media talks about you. I heard Peter King, longtime NFL writer, very esteemed, very respected. He was on Dan Patrick's show a couple days ago. I think it was Monday. And he said that Micah Parsons to him is the closest thing he has seen to Lawrence Taylor. And I can't figure that out because a healthy TJ Watt is just as good, just as productive, if not more so than Micah Parsons. I just don't get it. I just don't get it. I mean, I keep saying I don't get it, but I do. The fact is, when you have the star on your helmet, you get away with a lot more. You get evaluated in a totally different manner, and you get the media and press machine backing you up. And it's unfortunate because I'm a member of the press and a member of the media myself, but I really don't buy into that. Just because you play for a certain team, you get extra credit. Nah, can't do it. So what I want to know from you, do you think that Micah Parsons is the next Lawrence Taylor? Do you think he has what it takes to be arguably the greatest defensive player of all time? Do you think that he's even the greatest defensive player of his era today? Leave your comments in the comment section. Can't wait to hear from you. And I'll be back next episode. And I'm out. Peace.